Hey everybody, today we are talking about When the Emperor Was Divine by Julie Otsuka. This is the third book that I have read from Julie Otsuka, and it is maybe my favorite, actually. The last one that I read a couple years ago was The Buddha in the Attic, and I was a little disappointed in how I felt about it. I wanted to like it, but I felt like it was a little harder for me to connect to it because of the way that she wrote the characters, where none of them were given names. They were all just people, and they all had different experiences from like one situation. So all of their all of the way they felt about their situation was said. But that made it very vague and like general. Even though it was descriptive and detailed, it was at the same time very general and vague because we weren't connecting to one person experiencing all these things throughout. It was multiple people experiencing different parts of things all being shared at the same time, like a shared experience but with different takes on said experience, if that makes sense. And to me, I felt like I couldn't relate to that as much. So in this story, we are following just a family of four, a mom, a dad, and a daughter and a son. And the father is taken away to jail since the beginning of the book. He's been in jail because the government and the US government thinks that any Japanese man is a threat now because of the attack that happened on Pearl Harbor. So they get taken in for questioning and to try to figure out who is a spy and who's been trading their secrets and who's an enemy. Just because they're Japanese, they're now targets basically. And so he gets taken away, and the perspective kind of starts in the mother's perspective. She is getting things ready to go. She's getting any of her household chores taken care of because they have to leave LA and go, I believe they're in LA, and they have to leave to go to where I believe they end up is Utah, in deserty Utah. So basically they're just meeting up with like all the Japanese people there. They're going to be held there until they determine if they are enemies or not, basically till the war is over, I would assume. I do believe it was 3 years that they were there before they were able to go back home. And I listened to the audiobook of this, so that's why I'm like not 100% sure on some of the timeline, just because I was driving most of the time while I was listening. So I was focusing on, having to drive at the same time. So it starts with the mom's perspective, and then it slowly goes to the perspective of the daughter, who is still like not even a teenager yet. So the children are still pretty young. I want to say she's like 10-ish in this part of the book. But it goes to her perspective, what she's thinking, what she's feeling during this long train ride. When are they getting to their destination? Nobody knows. It's taking forever. They have to share this little space together, the three of them. Eventually they get to where they're supposed to be, and they start trying to adjust to how their new life is going to be for who knows how long at that point. Then it kind of switches to the son's perspective a little bit. He's younger, and he often is like has dreams about his dad and is really hoping that he doesn't forget like what his dad looks like the next time that they see him. Like, will he even know if it's his dad? And like all they want is to be reunited with their dad, and of course to go back home. They're trying to adjust to their new school, their new life, like what it's like where they are and how they're being treated. And then it kind of shifts back to the mom's perspective as well, and eventually finally they're able to go home, and now all they want is like to see their dad again. Like, okay, well, when are we going to see dad now? And so it's really about like family and coming together, and the perseverance and the strength that these characters, and not just these characters, but everyone who experienced this in real life when this actually happened, and how they were able to continue on in this like uncertain position that they were in and dealing with all the judgmental people around them. Like the mom was having a really hard time trying to get a job. At some point she was trying to get like to start working again, and nobody wanted to hire her because of just like how she looked. And so a lot of times when they would be introduced to people, the mom was like, if someone asks you, say that you're Chinese, you're not Japanese, you're Chinese. Just because if people knew that they were Japanese, they would immediately distrust them and judge them and feel like they were their enemies, when they're just children and they're just trying to get by. I just really appreciated this story. I really enjoyed listening to this, having it just come from this kind of like perspective of like one family and how they dealt with this change in their life, and how it impacted the way they had to live and how they continue to live afterwards. It changed, even though they got to return to their home, it ultimately changed for the rest of their life how people were going to be like react to them, and how hard it was for them to get jobs and things like that, all because of what happened that they actually had nothing to do with. Yeah, I like that perspective more than like other books of hers where it was more broad and vague and general of like all the people's experiences put together. I really liked just following this family's experience. I just felt like I could connect to the story better and more because, oh, well, what's this poor young kid feeling? And what's the mother feeling not being with her husband? And what's the perspective of the dad and like not being able to be there for his kids and trying to be as uplifting and happy as possible in the letters to make them feel hope? I really like how it shows how strong people are, how strong they can be, and how they can still have faith and still have hope even when they are being treated horribly and they don't deserve it, but they don't give up. And even though they shouldn't have had to go through that, like they're able to, because they just don't give up. And I just think that that's amazing, and people like that are people to look up to, like the fact that they are able to just be so strong when they have to go through so much stuff that they shouldn't have to go through. But yeah, anyways, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.